game. This is courtesy, of course, of James Ham at the Kings Beat and the Insiders on ESPN 1320. Here's how he opened his press conference, and he almost says the quiet part out loud. He walks right up to it, but doesn't say it.
Really be good in is creating extra possessions, your offensive rebounds, turning them over. We're able to do that at a really high level, and you have to shoot threes at a real higher clip. Not necessarily, I mean, obviously you want to make them, but they attempted 52, and we got up to 24. So point emphasis, unfortunate that when we play, don't see that too often, but yeah.
So points of emphasis, shooting threes, creating extra possessions via turning them over, offensive rebounds. The Kings don't shoot enough threes because their roster does not dictate that they're going to shoot a lot of threes. They don't have the players and the combination of personnel to get up 40-plus threes a game like Doug wants. And they don't turn the team, they didn't turn the Celtics over enough. I think they only turned them over like 10 times because they're not good enough defensively. They don't have the players to do what Doug wants to do. That's it. There's no little lineup tweak. There's no this guy plays more minutes, this guy plays more minutes, this guy plays less minutes. There's no version of this roster that's going to get to where Doug wants them to get on a nightly basis.
No, I agree 100%. And just to be honest with you, there's no combination of players or anything else that would do what Mike wanted them to do either.
Correct.
Just straight up.
Yes.
Like this team is flawed. And if your goal is to shoot 53s, like very specifically, and Doug went on to say, in that conversation that Keegan Murray took 5 and he has to take 10. He's like, my number for Keegan is 10. And Zach LaVine took 5, and my number for Zach LaVine is 10.
Yep.
He said that's straight up like those are the numbers. They are supposed to be closer to 10.
Yep.
So right there, that's 10. And the other problem is that you had somebody take 24 shots last night, and only 4 of his shots were 3-point attempts. So not only did he not hit the prerequisite of 10 or 8 or whatever it is for DeMar DeRozan, but when he takes 24 shots, it's nearly impossible for you to get those other 5 shots for Keegan Murray and for Zach LaVine.
Yep.
So, structurally, there is something completely flawed with this roster.
Yep.
And there is no easy way to fix it when you have a player who takes 28% of your shots in a given night. 28% of your shots, and only 4 of those are 3-point shots. Now, look, we keep hearing about the game plan. The game plan is to shoot as close to 53s as possible.
Yep.
And you go out there and you shoot 24 threes?
Yeah, 24. They went 8 for 24 in a basketball game in 2025.
24. There's no way to compete when you get outscored 57-24 at the 3-point line. There is no way to compete, Kyle.
They had 4 dudes, Derek White, Jason Tatum, Peyton Pritchard, and Baylor Shireman.
Baylor Shireman was awesome. I want Baylor Shireman on the Sacramento Kings.
Those 4 players alone went 16 of 36. Those 4 players alone shot 12 more threes than the Kings and doubled their makes.
Yes.
4 guys.
Okay, so let's just rewind to the game before, right?
Sure.
Where was it the game before that or the game before that where Keegan and one other player came out, and Devin Carter. So it was 2 games ago. They came out and said, we follow the game plan. 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 It was like, hey, look, they follow the game plan, and that's why they won. When your game plan is to shoot 53s and you shoot 24, that means that somebody or a handful of people didn't follow the simple game plan. It's not difficult. There's a game plan in place. Follow the game plan. That's how, if you want to win a game and your coach is laying out a plan to win the game, you cannot deviate from that and freelance and decide to do what you want to do instead of what the coaching staff wants you to do. And so there is a massive deviation from what they're supposed to be doing and what they're actually doing on the court.
Yeah, and that's where I don't want to get in. I don't want to fall down the DeMar DeRozan rabbit hole again.
No, it's like we do it every couple of days.
But he is the what's the word? He is the person taking up the most oxygen on offense, and that's fine. But this is where the flaw comes in. I don't want to. DeMar DeRozan is who DeMar DeRozan is. He's going to do the things he's going to do on the basketball court. Where the Kings erred was not acquiring DeMar DeRozan necessarily. It was how they surrounded him. They did not surround him with the right pieces. If you're going to have DeMar DeRozan, okay, cool. We're committing to this. Let's surround him with 3-point shooters so he can do his one-on-one stuff. Let's make sure we're getting good screens for him so he can get going downhill. And let's make sure that there's shooters around him so when he needs to kick it out, we can knock down a shot. And then those shooters need to be playing great defense on the other end because it's going to be just kind of a little bit of a rock fight night in and night out. And you don't want to be in a spot where you're trading 2 for 3 because the math doesn't work there. And the Kings too often get into these spots where they're trading 2 for 3 and they don't have the personnel to turn it into that type of game. And this is just what we're seeing. Can they win on some nights? Yeah, but they're going to lose more nights than they're going to win, hence the 35-36 record. This is just where they are. And when Doug comes out and says points of emphasis, we need to get more threes up, we need to do this, we need to do that. It's like the coaching staff can only do so much. You can only, how many times did Mike Brown sit up at the podium and say, we are going to coach it this way, and I'm not going to coach it differently until I see them do it and I see that it doesn't work?
Yes. So many times.
So the impetus now on the coaching staff over the next, 11 games? 71? 11 games?
Yeah.
You have to figure out, all right, is there a combination of players where we can make this work? What style of game can we play to crank out enough wins to make sure we're staying in the play-in and then have a shot in the play-in? And I'm afraid that they're going to keep going, just got to get up something closer to 53s. All right, well, then you're not going to.
I get that, but at the same time, like, the only way to compete against a team like Boston is to shoot, number one, shoot a ton of threes, but also shoot the hell out of the ball.
Right, because you are not good enough to shut them down defensively, and not a lot of teams are. Again, I don't want to make this necessarily about the Celtics specifically.
No, I mean, the Celtics are an outlier.
Yeah, this is just a volume thing.
Yeah.
If the Celtics were the Suns, and you're playing, and they're getting you're not good enough defensively to make them ineffective enough from 3 to trade your 2s for 3s.
Yeah. So what I'm seeing right now is exactly what you're talking about. The Celtics would come down, they'd hit a 3. The Kings would come down and take the lowest percentage shot in the league, which is a mid-range jump shot. Again and again and again. So let's just do the basic math again. A corner 3 is 40% in the league.
Yep.
So that's worth 1.2 points per possession, right? Because it's worth 3 points if you hit it. So on average, you hit 40% of them. 0.4 times 3 is 1.2. 1.2 points per possession. A mid-range jump shot in the NBA is roughly hit around 40% of the time. Same as a corner 3.
Yep.
The difference is it's only worth 2.
Right.
So now 0.4 times 2 is 0.8. So if every single time down the court you're giving up 1.2 and you're coming back on the other end and scoring 0.8, you're falling behind by 0.4 points every single time down the court.
Yep.
5 times down the court, you're down 2 points. 10 times down the court, you're down 4 points. It's just basic mathematics.
Yep.
That's what the Kings do every time. They go, it's okay to get, a mid-range jump shot every once in a while. But also, if you go to the basket where, you score at the rim, that's a 60% shot. 0.6 times 2 is 1.2. That's how you stay close. It's not by missing a bunch of mid-range jump shots, taking a bunch of mid-range jump shots, and hoping that you're going to stay in the game. And I don't understand. Like at some point, as a coach, as a teammate, as whatever, you have to say, hey, what are we doing here? We're losing because of the style of play. And the style of play is not what we were asked to do tonight.
Nope.
So there has to be a rein-in moment, and there hasn't been. And again, it's going to be on everybody. What's happening here is on everybody. It's not one person. Like, it doesn't matter how many times I bring up DeMar DeRozan's name. I mean, the dude had 10 assists last night. which felt like he gave him carte blanche to do whatever the heck he wanted to do on the offensive end.
Mm-hmm.
But still, he at least set up his teammates for 10 assists, right? He only turned the ball over one time versus the 5 times for Zach LaVine or the 4 times for Keon Ellis, who made some crazy passes that had no chance of ever reaching their target.
And that's where I, like I said, I want to get away from the DeMar DeRozan thing specifically.
Yeah.
Because like they're just not good enough elsewhere. Like Zach LaVine has not been good enough.
No.
You acquired Zach LaVine. We said, because neither you nor I were big fans of that acquisition. But when you go, okay, if we're doing a pros and cons list, the pros are, man, you know what? This is an offensive upgrade from De'Aaron Fox.
Short term. Yes. Fit wise.
Yes.
You thought it might work.
Yes. And he hasn't done that. And then you get the Domas injury. He came back, looked great last night. You get the Malik Monk injury where you go, okay, cool. Somebody who doesn't need the ball in their hands as much. Maybe now you see Zach LaVine open up a little more, and he just doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
And then you start going down the roster, and you're just not getting enough from Keegan Murray.
Nope.
And you really haven't all year. 3 of 5 from 3 is great. 6 of 10 would have looked a lot better.
5 of 10, 6 of 10,
4 of 10.
It
just would look better than 3 for 5. I mean, and then you've got Jake LaRavia, who, again, when he has a big night, it's like, awesome. That's bonus. That's found money.
Mm-hmm.
If he has a huge game. But more nights than not, you're going to get 2 points, 2 boards, and assists, and a couple steals from him.
Yeah.
And that's just, and so you start going down the roster, and you realize, man, they're not getting enough, or they can't get enough of what they need out of these dudes. And that's why they are where they are.
Very much so.
And I wish there was more to that. I hope that there's some button Doug Christie and the coaching staff can push here in the next 11 games where they go 7-4, and then they go into the play-in playing good basketball. They win a couple of games, and then they're interesting in the first round. Like, that would be awesome. But it's really, really difficult to watch this team night in and night out. Even against the Cavs, they shot 36 threes against the Cavs.
Mm-hmm.
They just happened to make 16 of them. Well, the Cavs, I think, went 14 of 34. So cool, you won the 3-point line in that game. That was an awesome performance, but still 36 threes is not going to be enough on a nightly basis.
No, not in the modern NBA.
At least not if you have a bunch of dudes who are just knocking them down and you're regularly going 18 of 36, all right. But you're not going to get that. You're not going to shoot 50% from 3 as a team.
No, and the thing is, the league has changed, and you have to change with the league.
Yep.
And the Kings have not done a good enough job of building the team around the players that they have. Even like I keep hearing like the Zach LaVine issue, right? Part of the Zach LaVine issue, first of all, this team is at full strength, might not be good enough to compete with the Celtics, the Oklahoma City Thunder on any given night if they're at full strength. You take away Malik Monk, you take away Devin Carter, and then this team really has trouble, right?
Mm-hmm.
One of the bigger problems with Zach LaVine, straight up, is that Zach LaVine is playing alongside another shooting guard.
Mm-hmm. And
that Domantas Sabonis has missed a bunch of time, and he's your point guard. So it's just a really, really awkward build. And, like at the end of the day, there's going to be massive changes this summer, whether it's roster changes, front office changes, coaching changes, all of the above. Like, there's going to be a lot of changes that come this way. And it's because this team is not good enough to compete for a playoff spot, let alone a play-in spot, which is at this point becoming very, very precarious.
Yeah. The Kings now just a half game up on both the Suns and the Mavericks after Dallas and Phoenix won their games last night. How close are they to falling out? We'll take a deep dive into those team schedules. What does the Kings schedule look like? And then I want to introduce the calamity meter.
Oh,
how bad could things get if various things happen to the Kings down the stretch of this season? We'll dive into that next. I'm Kyle Madsen. That's James Ham. Joe Brazil is on the ones and twos. We're sponsored by Jiffy Lube. We're the insiders here on ESPN 1320, Sacramento Sports Leader. I am printing rundowns, and then I'll be right back.
Cool. What's going on, everybody?
Whoops.
What?
Didn't get to Wes.
No. We can open the next part. Oh, nice job, Leezy. You just met Mark Dagnall. Sacktown Tony, Wes leaving is a good thing. No. Look, I don't know what's going to happen in that front office. I just know that over the last 2 years, the inactivity has not worked out. We're going to discuss it here in a few minutes. But yeah, there's a lot to go over there. It's not just like cut and dry. We didn't even mention in our rundown the Mike Bibby situation.
Oh yeah.
That's been the worst kept secret in Sacramento, just so everyone knows. You're right over there.
I told Andy from 94.7. It was pretty late. It was like 4:30 or 5 o'clock when that news broke. And I was like, Andy, did you hear that Mike Bibby is going to be the new coach? He goes, oh, are you breaking news to me right now? Are you doing the thing? I'm like, no, dude. I read it on Twitter, but I appreciate it.
That's funny.
Shout out Andy, man. We've been talking conspiracy theories a lot lately.
Oh no.
Yeah. Statue of Liberty is the new one.
Oh no.
I think even that's where I draw the line.
Joe is going down weird rabbit holes.
The Statue of the Liberty, yeah, that's where I draw the line.
I have never heard this conspiracy, and I might not ever hear it.
Honestly, there's really not much on it. I don't even know how he found out about this. I was Googling it yesterday, and there's like one podcast from like 7 years ago about it.
Wow. Yeah, we're gonna get into there's a lot to get into today. Let me see what else do we got here in the chat. So wait, Jonathan, I'm confused. You went to the Bulls game. On the way home, your wife sounded exactly like Cam and Kyle. It was horrible for me. Well,
so she was probably saying things like DeRozan needs to stop dribbling the air out of the ball, right? Et cetera, et cetera. And she was probably right.
Yeah.
So shout out to her.
Tell your wife she's a smart woman. Leezy, I don't know if last night was DeRozan's worst game. I mean, he put up 20 and 10, but
not his worst game.
No. Hey, mute the mic for a sec. All right.
Now, back to the Insiders with James Ham and Kyle Madsen, brought to you by Jiffy Lube on ESPN 1320.
There's some Sacramento-related basketball news in the college realm. Sacramento State is hiring Mike Bibby as its new men's basketball coach. Congratulations to Mike Bibby, who's been doing some stuff with NBC. But a Sacramento fixture, now going to be the head coach of Sacramento State men's basketball as they continue trying to transition that program and move it upwards.
Yeah, talk about the worst kept secret in Sacramento. Everyone kind of knew this was.
Know.
Oh, you didn't know? My bad.
Thanks, man. No,
yeah,
this
cool. This is one of those things that around the arena has been going on for probably a month and a half, 2 months, maybe a little bit longer than that. So I think it's a good thing, especially if you're trying to raise money and you're trying to do all that kind of stuff. It sounds like it's a 4-year deal. Our friend Sean Cunningham had some of the details yesterday, but it's good for Sac State. They're trying to hit the button and move up and in conferences and become a bigger program and get a stadium built and all that stuff and an arena built. So hopefully this works out for them, and hopefully Mike finds some success here.
On the Kings side,
Mhm.
according to Pete Thamel, college football writer for ESPN, the University of Utah is targeting Wes Wilcox to be the school's men's basketball general manager. So there's some interesting wording here. Thamel's report, I'm going to quote it directly.
Yeah.
University of Utah is targeting veteran NBA executive Wes Wilcox to be the school's men's basketball general manager. He goes on to say, Wilcox is the assistant GM in Sacramento, and his move marks the highest ranking sitting NBA front office member to take a college front office job. So that first sentence makes it sound like, hey, they've identified Wes Wilcox, they're going to try and hire him. The second sentence sounds like this is done and he's out of here.
Yeah, it's a really, really interesting way to word two sentences, because the two sentences do not make a lot of sense when you combine them.
No.
So I'm going to guess that Wes Wilcox is on the move. We don't have confirmation yet from anyone else. We're going to have to wait and see what exactly happens here with Wes. But I think that there are changes coming to the Sacramento Kings front office, no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
Whether Wes Wilcox is going to be back or not. There's a lot of things that are going to be happening in this front office with the coaching staff. And I say with the coaching staff, I don't know if Doug Christie is going to get the job or not, but I will tell you that he's down 2 assistants right now, 2 front of the bench assistants.
Mm-hmm.
And he's been running on a skeleton crew for most of the last, since he took over the job in December.
Yeah.
And it's gotten worse since Luke Laux left. And then he also had a stretch where Leandro Barbosa was away from the team dealing with a personal issue. So he's really been down coaches. So there's changes coming there. And then the roster, there has to be changes. I mean, I think we can all see that this thing is not working out the way that you thought it was going to. And you're going to have to make some drastic moves here in the next couple of months.
I've changed my mind on the Doug Christie thing. My initial thought was take the interim tag off. It's really clear the guys are playing for him and this and that. I think the correct move, even if Doug is the front runner and is going to be the guy that the team has pegged as the dude. I think the proper way to do this is to bring in a new GM, and you have to conduct a real coaching search. And you have to conduct a real GM search too. That's going to be assuming they move on from the current front office. That just you have to start taking these kind of steps, because you don't want to wind up passing somebody over because you just go, okay, well this guy's in the building, we saw him win some games, so yeah, he's going to be the next guy, and we're just going to kind of try and push this thing forward as best as possible. I don't think that's the right move anymore.
Okay, so I think that there's a ton of possibilities here, right? Number one, you can keep the same front office and these guys return, all of them, right? Number two, you can fire all of them. Number three, one of them can leave and you can bring in somebody else who brings some of the tools that person brings. So you have 2 different front office people here that we're dealing with. You've got Wes Wilcox and you've got Monty McNair. Monty McNair, very specifically, is an analytics guy. He was the analytics guy for the Houston Rockets. He was a bridge between the analytics department and the coaching staff. He's a very, very smart individual that deals with a lot of numbers. Wes Wilcox is more of a conventional general manager who makes phone calls to other teams, who runs the media relations staff and the basketball staff. Wes has a lot of control over what's happening inside the building on a day-to-day basis. Who's going to be the new head of the training staff, or the head of the medical staff, all that stuff. It appears, from what I can tell, that Wes Wilcox has all of that stuff under his umbrella, and that Monty's umbrella is the analytics staff and, some of the scouts and all that stuff. Right. So if you're going to lose one of them, it's possible the other one stays and that you go to try to find another person out there that can kind of fit the bill for that other job.
Mhm.
And, again, I think over the next couple of months, we're going to hear names that are like pie in the sky. Like, could the Kings go get Bob Myers
Mhm.
and just overtake the entire thing?
Mhm.
That's been floated out there in some circles that I've heard. I don't know if Bob Myers is going to ever take a Sacramento Kings job or
Sure.
step down off of TV. But there's also, like, you hear murmurs of a guy like Scott Perry. Scott Perry is a guy who joined the Sacramento Kings
Mhm.
during the 2017 build up to the draft.
Mhm.
He was the assistant GM alongside with underneath Vlade, but alongside Peja Stojakovic. So they had a dual assistant GM role. Scott was one of these guys that has connections all over the league, making phone calls, trying to, figure out who's going to go where in the draft and all this stuff, because they had a
Mhm.
very important draft with, 2 first-round picks. It became 3 first-round picks, all this stuff, right? Scott worked for the Kings for about 3 months, left to take the New York Knicks general manager job. So he didn't know that job was going to come available, but it was his dream job. They offered it to him. He went back to the Knicks where he had worked previously, I believe, and ended up being their general manager for a handful of years. And so I think that there's a possibility of somebody like that who,
Mhm.
again, might fit alongside a guy like Monty McNair, might give McNair the support he needs. It's just a different style, but same type of role that Wes Wilcox currently has.
I think you got to wipe it all clean.
I don't
Yeah,
disagree.
Slate just needs to be. This
Yeah.
is because they don't. I think the Kings' issues that we keep talking about and have talked about for the better part of the year and a half that this program has been on the air. I think the problems stem from just a philosophical issue in the front office, and the front office not identifying the right things that they need to be doing. And when you're on year 3 of this, it's like, okay, you've gotten your chances. This has gone backwards in each of the last 3 years. We're redoing this. I don't think you can have any vestiges of the previous front office left.
No, you're probably right. That's probably the best move, is to start over, especially if like one of them is potentially going to the University of Utah, who's being targeted, but also appears to have taken the job.
He's being targeted, but is also the first acting front office member in the NBA to take a job.
Yes,
in
exactly.
college.
Exactly. So like the wording is strange. But again, you do have this other sort of elephant in the room, and it's the connection between the front office, or the connection between ownership and Doug Christie. And keeping a guy like Monty McNair might actually facilitate that the Doug Christie hire in a different way. Now, whoever takes a job, they've got to go out there and get Doug some players. If Doug is going to be the head coach, whoever takes a job, they've got to go and get whoever the next coach is some players, because this team has a whole lot of they've got to mix things up. This thing is a mess at this point.
Yeah, I would be interested to know what, and we can. I mean, this is probably not conversation better saved for the offseason, but I would love to know if they're doing GM interviews. You sit down and go, hey, what are the flaws on this roster? And how would you go about fixing it? Like, just in a theoretical world where you can do any moves, like what would you do to fix it?
Okay.
And I would love to know the answer to that, because I don't know that if you asked Monty McNair and Wes Wilcox, like, what are the flaws on this roster, I don't know that they'd identify the things I would feel comfortable with them identifying and having them move forward, because we've been 2 years now of size, athleticism. This is a problem. And then they draft Devin Carter.
Yeah, but I think there's also we're so far removed from the actual draft pick, right? At this point.
That was just a stand-in move.
Well, no, but I think there is something here to that. What if I told you that maybe the Devin Carter move was intentional, and maybe they already knew they were going to trade De'Aaron Fox, and they were looking for the next point guard, and he ends up being more of a combo guard, more of a shooting guard who's got a shoulder issue, but your intentions were to backfill a position of need the entire time, because that's
swing and a miss,
very possible.
All right, well that doesn't help.
Well,
Like,
no,
it-
I mean, like in fairness to Devin Carter, I mean, we have to see what Devin Carter looks like after an offseason without
Yeah, this is
shoulder
not-
surgery
this
and
is
all
not-
that stuff.
I'm sorry. That was not a shot at Devin Carter.
Yeah, yeah.
That was a shot at they were trying to backfill a position. Okay, I'll buy that. You're backfilling it with a guy who's not going to play basketball for 9 months,
Yeah.
and then you're just going to throw him in January and be like, "Here, help." That doesn't make sense. And again, that's not a Devin Carter problem. That's a process problem
I totally agree.
that I don't.
Yeah. It's complicated, man.
Boy, is it. And I'm sure we'll talk about this a lot moving forward. He's James Ham. I'm Kyle Matson. Joe Brazil's behind the glass. The big talking point after the Kings lost last night was where they now sit in the standings, because the Kings lost and now the Mavericks won their game and the Suns won their game, leaving Dallas and Phoenix both a half game back of the Kings for the number 9 seed in the Western Conference. So we are perilously close to the Kings not even hosting the first play-in game and having to travel to Phoenix or Dallas, or missing the play-in entirely, which felt 2 weeks ago like, okay, well, they're locked into the 9 seed. They're not going to lose enough. The Suns and the Mavericks aren't going to win enough. All of a sudden, the Suns have won 4 in a row and 5 of their last 6. The Mavs have lost 9 of their last 12, but they've won 2 in a row, and they got Anthony Davis back last night. PJ Washington's back. Looks like they might get Derek Lively and Daniel Gafford back at some point here down the stretch, where all of a sudden the idea of those teams making enough of a run feels more on the table than it did a couple of weeks ago when they were both really struggling.
Yeah, I think we all just assumed that Dallas was cashing in the season.
Yeah,
Looked
like it.
But I also think that we have to look at that team as, a general manager that made a huge, not only a huge gaffe, but a huge transaction to change the direction of the franchise. But with the promises that they were still going to be competitive. And then they weren't. And if they can get their players back, they intend on being competitive. And Anthony Davis has told them very specifically, I have no intentions of shutting it down. Which I think that there was a point where they're like, hey, let's just play for draft picks. Let's just try to play this thing out and we'll be all right. And we'll start over this summer. And now all of a sudden it's like, hey, we're not doing that. We're not ready to cash in the season. And Dallas's schedule is not that difficult. That's been the problem the whole time. Dallas was like almost a shoo-in until they got hurt.
Right.
Like we weren't looking at the Suns. We were looking at Dallas and whether they could hold off the Suns.
Right.
But Dallas started losing all their players and we're like, first thing you do, oh, okay, well, that team is shot.
Yeah.
Well, they're not shot because they don't want to end the season. Just like if anyone watched the Sacramento Kings game last night, if there's one player that you should never question his motivations, Domantas Sabonis showed you exactly who he was last night. He is a dude who wants to win in the worst way and is doing everything in his power to get back on the court to play. You saw it the second he stepped on the court. Well, that's what Dallas is dealing with now too. They're dealing with Anthony Davis who wants to play. They're dealing with other players that are coming back, and they don't want to miss the playoffs either. So Kings are in some trouble here.
I have a silver lining or a reason for optimism about falling out of the play-in entirely. I want you to load up the Kings strength of schedule here in a second, because it gets a lot easier after tonight.
It does.
Here's what Dallas is dealing with. Dallas is at the Knicks, at the Magic, at Chicago. Then they're home against Brooklyn and Atlanta. They've got 2 against the Clippers in LA. Okay. On back-to-back nights. Then they play the Lakers at home, Toronto at home, and then they finish up with Memphis. So not a super tough schedule, but some tough games, some easy games in there. The Suns, they have this is the Suns' remaining schedule. Boston at Minnesota, Houston at Milwaukee, at Boston, at the Knicks, Warriors, Thunder, Spurs, at Sacramento.
That's ridiculous.
It's a really, really tough schedule for a team that has struggled for most of the season. Yeah, they've won 4 in a row, and they've looked a lot better lately. They've won 5 out of 6. But it would not shock me at all if the Suns over their next 5 games lose 4 of them.
Well, yeah, I mean, they've got 10 games left, and their win percentage against is 621. 621.
Jeez Louise, man.
They've got, again, you said OKC, Boston twice, the Rockets, the Knicks, the Warriors, the Bucks. Their easiest opponents are the Spurs and the Kings.
Man.
I mean, that's reckless. But again, the schedule always evens out.
Yeah.
The Kings have a win percentage of 530. They're all the way down to the 8th most difficult schedule.
Mhm.
After tonight's game, where they play the best team in basketball,
Mhm.
that schedule is going to get decidedly easier in the final 10 games of the season. And so what they have left is, again, they have, after tonight, they'll have a game against the Cavs and the
Mhm.
Nuggets. They've got the Pacers, they've got the Clippers, they've got the Pistons. So those
Mhm.
5. But then they have easy games against Charlotte, Washington, the Blazers, who are playing better, but they're still considered like one of the easier games
Mhm.
on anyone's schedule. The Orlando Magic, who are still well under
They're
500.
weird. They're a weird team.
Yeah, and then of course the Phoenix Suns, who are right where the Kings are, under 500.
Mhm.
And again, the Kings just dropped under 500 for the first time since February 6th.
Yep.
But this is exactly what I thought this homestand, that there was a point where they were going to drop under 500. It's just how far. And to be honest, they did a really nice job of winning those first 2 games. They still have a chance to go. I don't think they really have a chance to go 4-3 on the homestand, but they still have a chance to go 3-4 on the homestand. And it was kind of murderer's row. The one huge game that you couldn't afford to lose was the Chicago Bulls game.
I'm unmoved by 3-4 because you were 2-0.
Yeah.
If it
That's
2-0, we looked and gone, hey, would you take 3-4? You'd be like, hell no.
Yeah.
Like, absolutely not. So that's where, like, in the full scope, like, hey, 3-4 on this homestand, like, yeah, cool. But when you beat the Grizzlies and then you beat the Cavs, you're thinking, okay, 5-2. Can you swing that?
Yeah.
I mean, 4-3 is on the table for sure. So to wind up going 3-4 would feel really disappointing, especially if it means, okay, cool, you beat Oklahoma City tonight. Wow, awesome win. And then you turn around and lose to the Blazers. But then if you lose to Oklahoma City tonight and you go 2 games under 500, cool, you beat the Blazers to get back to 1 game under. It just doesn't hit the same for me. I think you would have taken it before the homestand started. But when you got to 2-0, 3-4 went off the table as an okay outcome.
Well, when you got to 2-0, you thought there was a good chance it could go 4-2. I mean, 4-3.
You got to 2-0, and we're up 19 on the Chicago Bulls.
Yeah.
And then you were up 13 on the Milwaukee Bucks.
Mhm.
And you wind up 0-2. Like, it feels like last night. It feels like the Bulls were a jab, the Bucks were a jab. Last night felt like the knockout blow. Just for any kind of good vibes.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about the vibes because we had conflicting reports from Kings players on the vibe in the locker room after last night's game. We'll talk about that. And then I still want to introduce the calamity meter. How bad could all this get? How good could all this get? We'll talk about that next. Joe Brazil's behind the glass. That's James Ham. I'm Kyle Madsen. We're the Insiders. Jiffy Lube sponsors the program. We're back in a second here on ESPN 1320 at Sacramento Sports Center. And some other news, I'm going to Disneyland on Sunday. Fired up for that.
What? We're going to go in early May.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah.
You say you're going Sunday?
Yeah.
Cool. I remember we had this conversation like a couple months ago.
Mm-hmm.
And I was saying, I need you to take me and show me like how to do it properly, because I like Disneyland. I love what they have to offer. I just I've only had like one good experience there.
Bro, yes. All right. Yes. That's bet.
Yeah.
There is a method to it. Everybody's method is a little bit different.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is just me and my wife. We're just doing a little anniversary trip.
Mm-hmm.
We haven't gone on a vacation, just her and I, in super long.
Oh, okay.
Well,
yeah, now it's going to be even longer because I'm coming along.
Yeah, I'm hyped. Fired up.
But yeah, no,
we
definitely. Maybe even just like a little checklist. Like you don't even need. You know what when you are going to go, if you wind up going,
we will sit down and there's a little process to it because you got to figure
Yeah.
out what you want to prioritize. Are
Yeah.
there certain things you want to do?
Yeah.
And then you got to kind of maneuver from there. The Magic keys have gotten so expensive, and we don't have the time to get down there often enough that we decided to punt
On the
on the Magic key.
what does that mean?
The annual pass.
Oh, the annual
Because
pass.
it used to be the annual pass was such that if you went, well, there were like the blackout dates were very few, and we had to go like 3 times to make it pay for itself. You had to go like 3 times over like basically 6 days in the parks. So we'd go 3 trips,
Yeah.
2 days each trip. And then we could make it pay for itself. But now with the Magic Key prices, we can only get down there once, maybe twice a year. And it just doesn't.
Yeah, it used to be like I remember when we had passes years ago and it was like $350 for a season pass.
Yeah.
And now it's just astronomical, right?
Yeah. And if you can go a lot,
Yeah.
I see the value in it. If you live down there, or if you have a lot of family down there, you go see a lot, and you can go 5, 6, 7, 8 times in a year, then yeah, man, go for it. But we'd like to. It just doesn't make sense for us.
Yeah, I haven't got to see all the new Star Wars stuff. I haven't been. The family has been quite a few times over the last maybe 5 years.
Oh, okay. So
but
you haven't seen Galaxy's Edge yet?
no, because
Oh, dude, you're gonna love it.
they always
I actually got to see that though. Yeah.
they either go during October break or spring break, and I'm in the middle of my season.
Yeah.
I was very impressed
It's
with that
so
one.
sick.
I was very impressed.
Have you been so you've been inside, or you've just seen photos?
No, I went to Disneyland. I think it was 2020 or 2021. When did they open that one?
Late 2020.
Okay, so it must have been 2021 because I got to go on the new one where it's
Mhm.
like they have the stormtroopers and it's like a
Oh,
whole.
Rise of the Resistance?
Oh, it's something different.
No, it's called Rise of the Resistance.
Yes. Oh, you're talking about the whole area.
Yeah.
Yeah. I went in there. It was awesome.
Yeah.
That was my favorite spot because
You're gonna love it, dude.
I love Star Wars.
Maybe this summer. I'll get my wife in here and we can.
That would actually be
Do a
really
whole
like
thing.
I would enjoy that.
My wife's one of those people that's very like organized. I'm not. For me, I'm gonna walk in there and I have like little things I want to do, and then I'm just vibing.
Yeah. Yeah.
With her, that's much more not regimented, but like here's an idea of what we're gonna like the way we lay out a show.
Yeah.
Like, we have an idea, but we're not necessarily gonna stick exactly to
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whereas for me, I'm just like, yeah, we're gonna walk around, see where the day takes
Dude,
me.
I'd start chasing a butterfly. I get lost. I'm like,
dude,
I got a
that's
call, you know? No, I feel that though.
I completely disagree, bro. It is one of my favorite attractions I've ever been
I
on.
thought it was awesome. Yeah, I had never experienced anything like that before.
It was way cooler pre-pandemic when they would no, I'm sorry. 2020 it opened late 2019. Galaxy's Edge did. So 2021 was probably Rise. Okay, yeah. Anyway, sorry. Yeah, unbelievable.
Now, back to the Insiders with James Ham and Kyle Madsen, brought to you by Jiffy Lube on ESPN 1320.
James is over there. I'm Kyle. Joe's over there.
Brought to you by Jiffy Lube.
Yeah, we are brought to you by Jiffy Lube.
Oh, we have a code word.
Yeah, we do. You want to give stuff away right now?
Yeah, let's do that.
Go for it.
Okay. If you're sitting near your computer, log on, go to ESPN1320.com. Click on the banner that says Jiffy Lube contest page. Every Kings game, we give away a $50 gift certificate to Jiffy Lube and a exclusive Insiders hoodie. If you go there right now, you have a chance to enter to win with the code word trouble. Because the Kings are in trouble.
Boy, are they.
They're in trouble, Kyle.
All right. I want to run through this with you. Because I just want to get a grip on what this all looks like. So I'm introducing the calamity meter.
Okay.
This is how big of a calamity is it if these certain things happen. 1 is like no movement, doesn't move the needle for me. 10 is like fire everyone, burn it all down.
Okay.
Okay. The Kings miss the play-in entirely. And I have a goal here with this, so don't overthink it.
Okay.
Kings miss the play-in entirely. We're burning it all down.
Oof.
I can't fathom a world where the Kings do not make the play-in tournament this year and anybody is back. Maybe Doug, but
That's where I
front-
would go. I would say
front
it's
office,
possible Doug, but front office is gone.
You've got players asking out.
Yes.
It is a code red absolute disaster, right?
Mhm.
So that's a 10.
It's a 10 for me
Okay,
if they miss
okay.
the play-in. What if they lose in the first play-in game? They make the play-in but lose in the first play-in game.
Oof.
It's a 9.9 for me.
That might be worse. Yeah, I don't.
You think it's worse?
Maybe
Ooh.
9.9. I like that.
I'm gonna say that's probably like a 7. Like at least a couple of people are getting fired. But you're also gonna like go specific, like at least you made the plan. You were gonna hear that. At least you got a 1 game, although the chances are it
I
wouldn't be
think
at home.
If you get that 1 game and you lose to either Phoenix or Dallas, I do not think there's any sentiment of like, yeah, at least we were there.
Oh, absolutely not.
No, that's true. That's true.
Absolutely.
I can't I can't get there. Like last year, there I think was a little bit of that. Okay, you beat the Warriors, you knocked off Golden State, you go, all right, yeah, man, you ran into the Pelicans, 0-6 sucked, but all right, hey, just get back on the horse this year. Took a little step back, now you take a big step forward.
Mm-hmm.
And to miss the play-in altogether or to not win a play-in game, that cements that you have gone backwards in each of the last 3 years, not even just record-wise, but from a season finale standpoint. You went from first round exit to second play-in exit to first play-in exit.
Yeah, like look, I still think the order of losing, it's going to go 48, 46 and like maybe
40.
41, maybe 42, maybe 40. I don't think you're going to finish higher than, well, I don't know. Like they're going to get 40 wins.
Are they?
It's just, what are they going to get above that? Yeah,
Are
I mean,
you
just like
certain about that?
just looking at their
That
schedule.
they're going to go at least 5 and 6?
Yeah, I think so. Just the games that they have on the schedule. Well, maybe I'm wrong. Having a feel for this team is very difficult.
That's exactly it.
Yeah.
I'm not buying into there are no games on their schedule where I'm like, they're definitely winning that game.
Yeah.
It should be like Washington and Charlotte, the Kings they should be favored in those games. But if you told me they tricked one of those, like, sure, man. Like, why not? Tell me they lose in Orlando and just Orlando just played their asses off. Sure, man. Portland comes in here chasing a 10 seed, playing super hard, super athletic, young team. Doesn't know they're not supposed to be here. Sure.
That's true.
If you told me the Kings went 3-8 over their last 11, I would not be like, what? No, that's disrespectful. Because they've not given me any reason to give them the benefit of the doubt.
No, you're right.
The urgency has been at an all-time high for days, weeks even. And you have the loss to the Knicks, the loss to the Warriors, loss to the Suns, come back, beat Memphis and Cleveland. Cool. And now you've lost your next 3.
Yeah.
In a spot where you're going, man, you can beat Chicago, you can hang with the Bucks, you can beat the Bucks. It big leads in those games. I can't tell me they win 42. Wow. All right, cool. They turned it on. But
it's crazy for me too, because when we were watching the game last night, like the sense of urgency from Domantas Sabonis was there.
It stood out starkly.
He like grabbed a rebound and started busting up the court. And
Every
you're
time.
like, that dude is playing on a very, very bad wheel. Like I even talked to some people around the team. I'm like, hey, how did you get this guy back on the court in 6-7 days after that ankle roll? They said, nobody wants to be back on the court more than Domantas Sabonis. They said, it is absolutely insane. He worked 24 hours a day on that ankle. What is it that I can do to get
Mhm.
back faster? Is there anything else I can do?
Drugs.
Like ice, like, again, like a TENS machine, like
Mhm.
whatever it is, massage, like what is it that I can do to get back on the court?
Mhm.
And that they're like, okay, well, we can do this and this. Okay, it's like, and then what else?
Mhm.
Like, what else can I do in addition to what you're already giving me?
Right.
What else can I do? Because I will be back as soon as possible.
Mhm.
I mean, the dude just came back in like six days.
Yeah, he was supposed to be reevaluated in 10. He
Yeah.
was out less than a week.
Yeah, it's just absolutely ridiculous. And then to have him show up on the court and not just play, but play phenomenal basketball.
I don't know how you're a Kings player and there's not some level of, dang, I need to match that urgency.
Yes.
And I don't want to like last night was not, I don't think it was about necessarily the urgency or whatever, because I think Boston just kind of beat them. It was just a methodical churn and they pulled away at the end.
Well, yeah. And I think
Um,
we feel the same way again tonight with OKC.
Probably.
OKC's just flat out, they're a better team than you are.
But if every player on the Kings attacked every game the way, attacked 48 minutes the way Domas did last night, they're not losing to Chicago.
Nope.
They close out the Bucks.
Mhm.
Like it's just it was so stark. It's like, hey, does everyone understand? Like, your center should not be pulling down the rebound and then be the first one across the timeline.
Yeah.
That should not be a thing that's happening. Why is that happening? That doesn't, I don't know.
It
was
to
good
me,
last night.
it was just like so wild to watch one person stand out so much that
Yeah.
cared so much.
Yeah.
And you're like, I get
And then he
it.
wound up taking what, 11 shots?
Yeah. I mean,
Great.
what did he ended up taking? Yeah, no, 6 of 10.
10
6 of
shots.
10, but he had 16 points and 17 rebounds.
Yeah, no, he was great. He should have taken 15 or 20 shots.
Yeah.
But he just, I don't know.
Even the assist numbers, I think he had 1 assist in the game.
Mhm.
Just guys didn't hit shots. But they need to run the ball through him the entire time. That's when they look good. That's when they were competitive.
Mhm.
When they ran the ball through him. They get to the second half, they just
It just
stop
goes away.
doing it.
Mhm.
Like, what are you doing? Why are you not doing this?
Yeah.
So, I mean, the guy played 32 minutes, had no minutes restriction, despite being out with a moderate ankle sprain for 5-6 days.
Mhm.
And then he fully expects to play tonight. He said, I got to go do my treatment. I'm going to get
Yeah.
ready for tomorrow. Got another game. Yeah, just like, and that's where, I see people in the chat, like Domas, like there's a chance he could say, hey, like, what are we doing here? And I don't want to be here.
Mhm.
Because of that, where you show up and other guys don't.
Mhm.
And you're looking around like, is that winning basketball? Is what we're doing winning basketball?
And are they committing to doing the things that maximize what he does well on the court?
Yeah.
And right now they don't.
Nope.
It's not in my opinion. Let's get to the Elk Grove Kia talk line, 916-909-1320, 916-909-1320, and we'll get to our guy Daniel out in Sacramento. What's up, Daniel?
Hey, fellas. Hey, exactly what you're talking about. Watching the game last night, and you see Domas playing compared to everybody else. I would put Keon with Domas. I know he didn't have the greatest game, but I think he tries. He wants to win. If you're looking at it with a keen eye, not as a Kings fan, you should be worried about that, because Domas has already said that he wants to go into the summertime and he wants to talk to the front office. He wants to see what direction they're going in. I take that as, if I were Domas, I would want out. I don't want to be on this franchise. Why would you want to be here? You're wasting your career here.
Mm-hmm. Thanks, Daniel.
I think it's an honest assessment, but I also look at this in a different light. Like, there are ways to fix what's happening. There are ways to move forward, but it's got to be like very precise and very quickly. You have to attack this thing the right way, right away. Again, if the Kings fall out of the play-in, just so people know, they'll drop to the number 12 seed in the NBA draft. Their pick is top 12 protected. They'll have their first round pick this year, as long as someone 13 or 14 doesn't somehow jump into the top 4. They'll have their pick this year. And so you'll at least have that asset. It won't do anything to clear up the rest of it. If you do have to go a different direction and just like say, okay, like, look, Domas is gone, everybody's gone, we're just going to start over and we're going to be bad for, you're actually, it's pretty easy to do. especially with that Atlanta pick. If it's top 10 protected next year, if you decide to be bad next year, you'll be okay. You'll get to keep your pick, and they'll get 2 seconds, and you'll have the rest of your picks, and you just move on, and somebody else starts and builds this thing up a different way. But I also think there is a way in which you can save this thing, and you can piece together a team that makes sense, and you can bring Domas back and bring back some of the other guys and have this thing be successful.
For sure. We'll continue going through potential end of season scenarios for the Kings and what each of them means. I see very little difference between missing the play-in entirely and losing in the first playing game. That's the very, very close to the same for me.
This thing is already heading down that a dark path.
Yep.
So yeah, I'm with you.
That's it.
This is not a successful Sacramento Kings season. Just straight up. It's not.
I want to explore that.
Under any metrics, it's not.
I want to explore that with you next. I'm Kyle. That's James. Joe Brazil's with us. We're here till noon on ESPN 1320 at Sacramento Sports Theater.
Okay.
Oh, there we go.
Like this, I don't like. I keep pointing to this. Like, it's really, really difficult for Zach LaVine to be Zach LaVine, and it, with, you know, I think we'll get into this discussion next. Like, there are things that are happening right now where multiple players are not allowed to be who they should be as players, because whether it's the system, whether it's other individuals that are on the roster, whatever it is, they're not being able to live up to their potential. And, you know, again, I'd say this. I talked about this when they traded for Zach LaVine. Like, there's not a lot you're going to do to make Zach LaVine better on defense. I'm sorry. Like, I don't care what anybody else wants to argue. You have 11 years worth of data. You understand that Zach LaVine is not a plus defender. And that's okay. You can get away with not having a plus defender at one or two positions. You can't have three of them in your starting lineup. I've also said that. But when I talk about Zach LaVine, I also say, like, we have 11 years of data of saying that he's an absolutely tremendous offensive player. What's happening right now with Zach LaVine doesn't make any sense. It just doesn't, because we have too many years, too many games played of data to say that that's not who he is. So you have to start looking at, why is he playing this way? What is influencing him? And it's complicated, but there are reasons why he's not. I'm not trying to make excuses for Zach LaVine at all. I mean, there in no world should Zach LaVine go out in an NBA game against a great team and, you know, like the Celtics, and go 6 of 16 from the field. He needed to take another 4 shots, another 5 shots. But that's just like, he took 16 in this one. Where I'm really looking at is a game where he took 6, a game where he took 9, multiple games where he took 9, where he's averaging 9.8 shot attempts over 5 games. There's a reason why that's happening. And part of it is on Zach, but part of it is on other, you know, whether it's coaching staff, whether it's players that he's playing with, whether it's the chemistry on the court, whether it's like ingredients that are happening that don't work for him. That's a problem. So I don't think it's just as cut and dry as, hey, just bench Zach LaVine and everything will be okay. That doesn't make any sense to me, because Zach LaVine is, right now, he's your future. Like, you've made it so he is your future, because
Facts.
Nobody's trading for that 46 and $49 million contract. Yeah, securing the 12th pick. We did talk about Wes Wilcox.
We did.
You missed it.
Man, I bought this cold brew concentrate for a separate thing we needed for a recipe, and now I'm just drinking it. And you're supposed to add water to it because it's cold brew concentrate. And I don't think I added enough water. I'm just wired. Yeah. Hour number 2. That's James Ham. I'm Kyle Madsen. Joe Brazil on the ones and twos. We are sponsored by Jiffy Lube. And we're rocking with you until noon. On ESPN 1320 Sacramento Sports Leader. Then we will hand it off to D'Lo and KC. And D'Lo and KC will take you up to 4 o'clock where we have Golden State Warriors basketball against the Miami Heat right here on ESPN 1320. Also have Lakers Pacers for you tomorrow at 4. And then Thursday at 4, our coverage of the Sweet 16 begins.
Ooh.
Yeah, NCAA men's basketball. Hey, speaking of NCAA basketball, that Juju Watkins injury last night was brutal.
Oh, man. That's
Just
bummer.
brutal, bro.
Yeah.
Like one of those superstar player hitting that ascent of everybody who follows women's basketball, even a small amount. I don't follow it nearly as close as Damian and Trista Crick and even Kenny do. But I follow it closely enough to know who the hell Juju Watkins is. And watching a person who is about to ascend into that stratosphere of like household name, watching them go down with a season-ending injury that's going to require surgery. USC did not say specifically what the injury was, but it was
we're hearing this morning is an ACL tear.
Oh, did that come out?
Yeah.
Okay, because last night their announcement said season-ending injury, going to require surgery. That just sucks, man. I don't think we need to belabor the point that injuries are ass.
Yeah, injuries suck.
But seeing it for her was just, man, hated it.
And she has like really big ties to DeMar DeRozan. They're close. So like it's a bummer to see something like this happen. And like, look, I've been in the building for some catastrophic, massive injuries, like the Kevin Durant Achilles tear, Rudy Gay Achilles tear, like some like multiple bad injuries. It just always sucks, man. Like even last night watching Jason Tatum get hurt.
Oh,
that was just like such a bummer to watch happen. Because again, Domantas Sabonis, there was no ill will there. Like he didn't intentionally go hurt Jason Tatum. His closeout, was it reckless? Yeah, it was
a flagrant for sure.
Yeah, it was a flagrant without any question. But like even after the game, like he apologized and like just very much heartfelt. Like he's just gone through all these injuries himself. Yeah. And it's like, hey, it's part of the sport, but it still sucks every time.
No doubt. So hoping for the best for Juju Watkins, and hopefully she's back on the court dominating sooner rather than later. Because women's college basketball is even better for it. You said there's no scenario where this season's a success for the Kings, because I wanted to push back on it, and then I was thinking about it at the break. And yeah, if they win the championship, it'll be a successful year. But in the scope of realistic outcomes, where the ceiling is a first-round exit, right?
Maybe the ceiling's a first-round exit. I mean, like,
no, I think
okay. So I'm trying not to be a pessimist. No, I'm trying to be realistic here.
Right. So that's right. And so that's why I'm saying the pessimist is being like, they're not even going to make the play-in, so why does it matter? But I think their ceiling, because if you told me, yeah, they made the play-in and they won a couple of games, sure. This team is capable, we've seen, of beating Phoenix or Dallas and then going and beating the Timberwolves or the Warriors or the Clippers or whoever they would see in that second play. They are capable enough of putting back-to-back games together where they play well to go win those games. I don't think they're capable of winning 4 out of 7 against Oklahoma City.
No, not at all. I would say, like, when I say that I don't think that there is a way in which we could deem this season successful, is because you were on a path. You had 48 wins. You dropped to 46. But again, there was an easy way in which you could have hit free throws in this game or like had like one bounce of the ball go a different way.
That's it.
And that team could have
Mhm.
been a 50-win team
Yep.
without any question last year.
Yeah.
Right. And then you had the injuries at the end of the season that like really they did
Yep.
hurt this team.
Yep.
Right. So we get to this year and there should, like, not to use his words against him again and again, but maintain and improve. Right. That is Monty McNair. We need to maintain and improve. You haven't maintained. There's no way to improve when you don't at least hit the first benchmark, which is maintain.
Mhm.
There's no way to improve.
Mhm.
And not only that, you signed a 35-year-old and got older.
Mhm.
You traded a 27-year-old for a 30-year-old and got older. Like, you continuously got older. You draft old players. You signed older players. There's no one on this roster that's under 24. There's no one on this roster
Man.
like that's 24 and below. Like
Devin Carter.
Oh, okay. So Devin Carter's 23.
Yeah.
My bad. So you got one player that's under, but you don't have a player that's under 23. Like most teams have a 20-year-old or a 19-year-old or a 21-year-old. Like they don't even have like a 22-year-old guy that's got a year or two experience. And so what you've done is you've shrunk like your age arc of the team. And on top of that, you don't have a way to show like a path forward. What is your path forward? Your path forward, like, and this is not a dig on DeMar DeRozan. Your path forward cannot be that your team is handed over to a 35-year-old with a year left on his contract and who's closer to retirement than he is to anything else.
And let's remove, let me just I'll remove DeMar DeRozan for you here.
Mhm.
If the Kings got Kevin Durant right now, it would be the exact same conversation.
Of course. You know,
this is not about DeMar DeRozan. It's about pick 35-year-old player with one full year left on their contract. That's just not somebody you're building around.
Well, no, and I'll go back to what the Kings did in 2017, where they brought in 4 draft picks, and then they were able to get Bogdan to join the team, and then they already had 4 rookies from the year before. So 9 players. Add Willie Cauley-Stein from the year before. You had 10 players that were first, second, and third year. You go out, you sign George Hill, you sign Vince Carter, and you sign Zach Randolph. That is when it's if you're going to have a 35-year-old, 36-year-old Zebo, like keeping your team from getting blown out every single night, that's one thing.
Sure.
But it's also not what you're building around. What you're building around is the 19, 20, 21-year-olds that you expect some of them to develop into star-level players.
But Detroit did.
Yeah.
Detroit has gathered these pieces, let them play, let Cade Cunningham figure it out, let Jaden Ivey kind of figure it out. Let Jalen Duren kind of figure it out. Isaiah Stewart, you starting to piece Asor Thompson. And then you reach a point where you go, okay, we're going to add some veterans around these guys and try and push the culture forward. Try and push this group forward. They've done as much as they can with themselves. Let's bring in Tobias Harris. Let's bring in Tim Hardaway Jr. Let's bring in guys who know what they're doing.
Yep.
And we're going to try and take this to that next step. There was a path there. And if you were bringing in DeMar DeRozan because you needed and you were going to bring him off the bench because you have a bunch of young guys that you feel good about in your starting lineup, that's one thing. But you're not going into next year going, all right, hey, what are the foundational building blocks for the next 3 years of Kings basketball? It's not the 35-year-old.
No. And again, what you did with this move is you went to a more limited player. Like there are a lot of people out there who don't believe that Harrison Barnes is a valuable player.
Mm-hmm.
They're wrong. Harrison Barnes can play 35 minutes a game and hold up his end on the defensive end most nights.
Mm-hmm.
There's some games where he's going to get beat up on, but so does everybody else. Like, we can talk about how good Keegan Murray has become as a defender. He's so good as a defender, and Jason Tatum would have had a 30-point triple-double last night.
Yeah.
And the night before, Giannis Antetokounmpo did have a 30-point triple-double or really close to it. That's just the reality of the league. There's no way to stop certain players, right? So I'm not saying that Keegan's done anything wrong, but at the same time, like, there is value in what Harrison Barnes brought to your team. It would be a lot easier right now to get to 53 pointers a game if you had Harrison Barnes instead of DeMar DeRozan.
Yeah.
And if that's the style of play that you want to do, that you want to play, like, and that's the style of play that Mike wanted as well.
Mhm.
He wanted 40 plus threes a game. There's just no way to do it.
Mhm.
Like, so again, like, you can't go out there and just sign somebody because they're going to be a Hall of Famer and you know, it's good PR.
Mhm.
That's not the way you build a team. And
Yeah.
so, like, there are just some missteps that have happened here. And I'm not saying, hey, that DeMar DeRozan is a very, very good basketball player.
No doubt.
20 and 10 last night. Like, there are very few people that can walk in to an NBA game and put up 20 points and 10
Yep.
assists and put up 20 points in like 50 plus games this season.
Yep. Yeah. He is one of the very best players to ever put the ball in the basket.
Yeah.
That's the Kings are not the team that are going to be maximized by having DeMar DeRozan on the court.
Yes. Both things can be real.
And again, I hate to harp on the DeMar thing because of what you just said. Like, he's really good. This is a Kings roster problem.
Mhm.
The Kings don't have the right players to support DeMar DeRozan, and DeMar DeRozan is not the guy to support the players the Kings have. It's just not a fit. It's not a match.
Exactly. And we can go back to the start of the season. DeMar DeRozan was never going to be the player to not just maximize Keegan Murray. He was never going to be the right player to maximize De'Aaron Fox.
Well, right. And there was some hope that he was going to take this kind of back seat. And then when they needed a bucket, he would go get it. And nope, he's just the same guy he's always been. That just doesn't work.
Yeah, and you can't fault him for being the same guy he's always been, because that's why you pay him the money, because he's that guy.
Right. They have to identify moving forward, what kind of team do we want to be? If they're going to hire Doug Christie, if they hire Doug Christie and say, you know what, Doug's the guy, we love what he did, we're going to hire the GM around that. You need to be hiring a GM that sits down with Doug and they agree, they see eye to eye on basketball. Because it was really clear that Mike Brown, because De'Aaron Fox said as much when he first talked to the media in San Antonio.
Mhm.
Love what they can do defensively, love the size, love the length, love the athleticism. You need defense to win championships. That's something Mike talked about a lot, and I think we can do that here. Because it wasn't the focus for the Kings. It wasn't what, philosophically, they don't view the game that way. And I think Doug views the game very similar to the way Mike Brown sees it. Coaches it differently, might do some things differently, but for the most part, he talks about needing defense, creating extra possessions with rebounds and turning them the other team over.
Pushing the tempo,
and 45 to 53s a night. If your GM choice, if it's not this current regime, whoever you wind up with, if they do not view basketball that way, if they do not say you need a bunch of switchable dudes who are 6'6" and taller, and a bunch of dudes that can knock down threes, and we're going to shoot 53s a night, 40 to 53s a night, if that's not your philosophy, then move on to someone else. If you're going to move forward with Doug Christie. And then you need to make sure that you're maximizing your roster to do those things, because I don't think the Kings maximize their roster to do anything. It feels like, after watching this team play, that their goal this season, the whether ownership, the front office, whoever, it was just like, hey, just get back to the playoffs.
Yeah.
Last year was a disaster, missed the playoffs entirely. What do we have to do to get back to the playoffs? Cool. DeMar DeRozan, 20-point a night guy. Cool. Throw him in there. That'll be good enough to get to the postseason. And it hasn't been.
Well, and at some point, somebody has to be held accountable for the team that was put together.
That's
For this season that's happened. Somebody has to be held accountable. And if that's Wes Wilcox, who may or may not be leaving to go
University of Utah legend, Wes Wilcox.
Yeah, go to University of Utah and be the general manager there, like whatever it is, like there has to be some accountability for the mistakes that were made this season, the mistakes that were made the season before, to not improve the roster on the fly.
Mhm.
There just has to be like basic accountability.
Mhm.
And that's something that, I guarantee you, it's not just the general manager. It's not just the assistant general manager that has to be like, there has to be some repercussions for what's happened here.
Mhm.
And, at the end of the day, does that mean like losing? Does it, whatever, like this is going to be an interesting summer to see how they try to fix the problem that the mess that they've got themselves into.
Yeah.
I hope they do. I do.
Same, man. Last year, 2 years ago was way more fun.
Oh, it was
Last
a
year was
blast.
better than this.
Yeah.
And this is just I hate that with like 15 games to go, it was just, we kind of just know what this is.
Yeah,
That's a
man,
bummer.
Kyle, it's like again, they peaked at year 1.
Yeah.
How do
And
you
even-
peak at year 1?
Even then, they peaked at year 1 with a record that would have been the 7 seed last year.
Yeah, it's a different season for
Like
sure.
yeah, but no, seriously, if you go back to 2 years ago, they win 48 games and they're the 8 seed. It looks a lot different.
No, I agree, but each season is different.
No doubt, no doubt.
The win totals
No
are
doubt.
different.
You're right.
So
You're right. All right. The Kings play tonight.
they do.
You want to talk about it?
Okay.
All right. See, we're going to talk about it. Kings Thunder. Also, a former NFL GM is working for ESPN, and he did a mock draft that perfectly highlighted why he's a former GM. We'll talk about that as well. He's James Ham. I'm Kyle Madsen. Joe Brazil's on the ones and twos. Jiffy Lube is sponsor of the show, and we're on ESPN 1320, Sacramento Sports Center. I got to stretch.
I probably should get out of my chair. Oh,
Stephen Brown's had an interesting thing I wanted to talk about. Hey Bryce, this is so opulent. This is such a crazy thing to say. Yeah, the problem here with this, Stephen, is I don't necessarily like totally disagree, but the James Harden small ball Rockets, the small ball was like Eric Gordon and James Harden, and then a bunch of dudes who were switchable and could shoot threes.
Trevor Ariza.
Yeah,
like
Luke
we're talking
Mbamute.
Yeah, 6'8" dudes with wingspans and were athletic.
Yes.
I don't know. Is
And
that length and athleticism like what we've been talking about?
Yeah, literally.
Same.
Like they gave the Warriors hell because Chris Paul was on that team, obviously, but at that point, still a good defender. They gave that team, the Warriors, hell because they could just switch everything. And so the motion offense was just really, really tough to execute. And this is not, they've not done that same thing. That's why I was so optimistic about Monty. Was like, man, you got 48 wins out of a team that he's not even really gotten to put his stamp on yet.
Yeah.
And I thought they were going to bring in a bunch of dudes who were Keegan Murray types. And then they just didn't.
Just weird.
Yeah,
and
really
not only that, but
strange.
I think one of the biggest bummers about this season is that you wasted a year of development with Keegan.
Yeah, PJ Tucker. Yes, facts.
You know, like this season, even right now, the final 12 games of the season, 11 games of the season, it should be about getting Keegan Murray right and not worrying about his contract status for the summer and trying to get him on the right path. Yeah. Oh.
I don't know if he definitely was worse last year offensively than he was. I think if they had rookie year Keegan right now, I don't think they're better. Like, he's just so much better.
He's incredible.
He's so much better defensively than he
Yeah.
was as a rookie.
Yeah, I think they'd be worse even possibly because
Yeah.
we don't need more offense right
I was
now.
so
We need
yeah,
defense
dude.
really bad.
I was so worried because I liked Keegan a lot. I was all in on Keegan as the 4th pick. I did not want to see Jaden Ivey in Sacramento.
Yeah.
I was all about Keegan.
Same.
But that playoff series, watching him look like he was playing in mud, I was like, uh-oh.
Yeah.
Like, he may just not have the skill set to be as good defensively as I think he could. And then he just came back next year and was like, hey, look, I'm good at defense now.
Well,
Like,
even when he came into the
all right,
league,
cool, man.
you thought league average defender, maybe a little bit above league average. What he did in that first off season was incredible. Like what him and the training staff did to create the type of player he was going to be, like really impressive.
I think, yeah, I don't think he's like an all defense guy. But I think it really stands out on this roster that doesn't have a ton of really good defenders. Keegan is probably their best defender, and he's definitely their most versatile defender.
And actually, I would make this claim, Russell. He is an incredible plus defender in the NBA. The problem is that from one night to the next, he has to defend the most difficult person on each individual team that he plays. And it's because the Kings lack depth and they have no other defenders that can do what he does at all. So one night he's defending Steph Curry. One night he's defending Giannis. One night he's defending Jason Tatum. You're always going to give up tons of points to those guys. Look at their shooting percentages. Look at what he does to limit them. And that's where you're going to get like a true read on the value of Keegan. So, like, man, that dude has to defend everybody.
Now, back to the Insiders with James Ham and Kyle Madsen, brought to you by Jiffy Lube on ESPN 1320.
Yeah, we sure are. We're here till noon. The Kings have another game tonight. They play Oklahoma City. I did not go into last night's game. I don't think I would have bet on the Kings, but we talked about it. I was winning by 10 was as on the table as losing by 30.
Mm-hmm.
I don't feel that way tonight. Because like I said earlier, last night felt like a knockout blow type of game. You had the jab from the Bulls, you got a jab from the Bucks, and then the right hook to the jaw from the Celtics.
I agree with you.
You have Zach LaVine after the game being like, vibes are bad. Or no, vibes are not good right now. And then Keon Ellis comes out after the game and says, let's see, where is this? Quote, this is via Tristy Rodriguez at NBC Sports. I think the vibes in the locker room are great, actually. I just think on the court, we have to figure out how to come together a little more.
Yeah, we discussed this
what?
before, like when we were talking before the show started. And like for me, it is very possible for the vibes to be good for one person and vibes bad for another person.
Yeah, Keon's doing his job. He's starting. Feels great.
Well, that and you know, like we all can work, you know, you all have a lot of people out there have jobs, right? And when you're at your job, you can love your job and the person next to you doing the same exact job can hate it and resent it and feel horrible about what they're doing with their job. And that's just the reality of work life culture type stuff. And for me, I was in the locker room in pregame, and like we were having a good conversation. It was light. Zach LaVine was in the locker room. I actually, Jake LaRavia had not heard the song that they play for him now, which I don't know if you've heard yet, but they play Van Halen's Panama every time he scores. But to LaRavia, boom, boom.
They recorded it?
Yes, with LaRavia instead of Panama. So he doesn't know Panama, the song, at all.
Yeah, of course he doesn't.
No, because it's from the 80s. But
that was a Scott Moak choice for sure.
It wasn't. Well, I know the guys that do this. Shout out. I think it's still they're searching for theme songs for everybody, right?
Goofing.
Yeah, and so it actually that we were laughing about it, and then Zach LaVine said they need to use the Jake moment from Training Day.
Oh, that's a great one.
Yes. And then he's joking around and saying words that I'm not going to say on the air.
Sure.
Like, I don't think they can get away with that part of it.
Yeah.
But this part of it, you know, the Jake.
Yeah.
Come on, Jake. Like that. He's like, I that's what I would do for you. He's like, but I did hear your theme music and it kind of makes sense because, you know.
Not the locker room of a team that feels like it's broken.
That hates each other.
Right.
Not at all. Like it was lively. It was like, okay, we're having a good discussion. You know, Jonas Valanciunas walks in and like, he's just a giant and like says hello to everybody. Like the locker room doesn't feel like it's shattered. And that's why I always tell people like losing the locker room or whatever. It's just totally different than what anyone thinks. It's not like people are sitting there staring at each other across the room. Now I have been in that locker room.
Sure.
Like that has happened, right? Where people are, you know, where there are fights, where people do not like each other, like DeMarcus Cousins and Jason Thompson did not like each other at all.
Mhm.
Like there was a very huge rift, and Dante Green was on one side and other players were on, like
Sure.
there have been locker rooms where they don't. That's not what we're seeing here. We're seeing here is a player who probably, when they said vibes, what about vibes? Like Zach LaVine's assessment is because they just lost, and he's very upset that they lost and frustrated that, again, he didn't play up to the level that he knows he's capable of, and that it's going to be talked about ad nauseum the next day.
I think the fact that it's Zach LaVine coming out after the game and saying the vibe is bad right now, or the vibe is not good right now, your point on this is the biggest issue for me. Because you can't have Zach LaVine, who was brought here to be your offensive one, after how many games with the team? After a month with the team? Month and a half now?
Yeah.
It's been like a month and a half now. After a month and a half with the team going, don't like it. Vibe's bad. Vibes are down.
Played 21 games with the Kings.
Played 21 games. He's already like, don't like the vibe. That doesn't bode well for me. The fact that their loss last night turned Zach LaVine, should be your number one or number two offensive player on this roster. Should be number one. Is going, the vibes are bad. The vibe is not good right now. I don't know. There's no saving that. If he's just out, and again, I don't want to put this entirely, I don't know what he has going on in his life. And maybe he's really going through it, which would, cool. I hope everything's okay. But from a basketball standpoint, that to me, if LaVine had gone to the podium and said what Keon Ellis said, yeah, vibe's okay. We just need to figure some things out on the court. We'll be good. But the vibe isn't good right now. To me, says Zach LaVine is looking around and going, this is what this is. There's no improving this.
It's almost like he's been here before.
Sorta.
Yeah. I mean, that's where, like, I think one of the things we talked about before, it's a weird situation. And I think that when DeMar DeRozan and Zach LaVine were together in Chicago, they were perfectly fine. But they also didn't win. They had one season when they were really good for a short amount of time, and then, whatever happens, right? But this kind of feels like, again, like, we talked like different analogies here, but almost like you're dating some girl and then you break up, but she moves away, and then your parents go, hey, we're going to move this summer, and you move to a new school, and there's the girl that you dated that broke up with you. And it's like, oh, all right.
Great. Got to relive this.
Great. You're here. And the one person that I'm going to know from school is the one person that I really don't,
want to be around.
Yeah. And so it's just kind of a weird vibe. And like, look, there's clearly an epic battle going on for who's going to have the most amount of shots, who's going to score the most points. And that's not conducive to team basketball.
Right.
It's just not. Like it should not be, we've talked about this so many times about how Kawhi Leonard is supposed to shoot the ball because that's what makes a team better. Like, there is no consideration for what's making the team better at all right now. That's what it feels like. It's about getting your buckets.
Yep. And Zach LaVine is not right now, which is why the vibes are bad, apparently.
Well, and Zach LaVine isn't like putting his foot down and demanding that he gets the buckets. And so a lot of fans are upset about that. And it's, you have to figure out personalities and everything else. But this is a weird situation. I haven't been through a season where the expectations were so high and they've gone to this low, and things have happened during a season that were this bad. Typically when things have gone bad, it's because, let's be honest, they were always going to go bad.
Yep.
That's just a reality.
Yeah. Unless these two dominant offensive players who have played together before completely changed the way they played basketball.
Yep.
This was destined to kind of turn into this.
Figure out a way to complement each other.
Get to the Elk Grove Kia talk line before we get back to Kings Thunder. 916-909-1320, 916-909-1320 if you'd like to join the show. Javier in Vacaville called. He's back. Okay, let's get to Javier in Vacaville. What's up, Jav?
Can you hear me, sir?
Yeah, we got you. What's going on?
How you doing, Mr. Madsen, Mr. Ham? I just wanted to appreciate, for one, you guys being honest and forthright about things that have taken place, because, I talked to, other people in the, media network and landscape, and I just said, I just don't understand. Like, this should be a documentary of how the darlings of the NBA 2 years ago, with all this young up-and-coming talent, have now become the window essentially is closed. And they say, they told me, other networks, success, Javier, is not linear. They compared the Nuggets and the Celtics runs of how they won one of the first round loss, and the first round the next year, semifinals, conference finals, loss, win, etc. I said, but we're not talking about a team like the Kings, who they had the silver platter handed to them of just following the guidelines and the track and the timeline of how you assemble a roster. And it's just, how are you going to sit there and tell me, like, Carmichael Dave said a very good thing. He said, it's
all right,
the owner.
that's it. He's out. Come on, man. I'm trying here. You can't be bringing up host from the rival radio station. It's all good.
I was giving him grace.
We'll try again.
Okay.
Like, look, and I get what he's saying too. Like, we're not going to sugarcoat what's happening. That's like, it's about being like intellectually honest with you. Like, we're not going to feed you like some crazy line about how things are just one tick away. That's not where we're at. And it is disappointing that the team was up here and now here.
Yep.
Like, how many times do we have to hear about Annapurna and climbing the mountain together? Like, man, you guys are falling down the other side. You've tumbled down the other side.
Yeah. This is not a success isn't linear moment.
No, this is
you've derailed entirely.
This is that video where you see the guy trying to ski, and all of a sudden there's an avalanche, and he's on one ski, and the avalanche is about to consume him, and he's going as fast as he can down the hill. That's what's happening right now.
The train is off the tracks.
Yeah.
Instead of trying to push the train while it's laying on its side on the dirt, the move is, hey, let's get a new train rolling through here. That's got to be the move. Joe in Elk Grove. Is that right? Is that the right name?
Yes, sir.
I'm working on a solution for this, by the way. You're going to have a screen where you can type the names in, and then I will see them. Yeah. It's going to be big time.
Yeah.
It's going to be big time. Joe in Elk Grove, he's been holding for 24 hours. What's up, Joe?
Hey, how's it going, Kyle? You ready for the baseball season? Ready to make a lot of cash?
Oh, dude, you have no idea.
I'm ready to roll. Let's go. I'm making some big money come Thursday. First of all, my call is for Mr. Ham. I think Zach LaVine's got to go, and I say, from what I'm hearing, Memphis does not want to pay John Morant the big cash he's due this coming summer. How about setting LaVine? What would it take to get John Morant to Sacramento for LaVine? Could that work out, or would we have to throw some more stuff in there? And I'll take it off the air. Good day, Mr. Ham, to you.
Thanks, Joe. Hey, San Antonio Spurs guy, tweet it out. Send it out.
Okay,
Zach LaVine for John Morant.
Like, look, I think the Jaw thing is going to surface again. Jaw is an extremely talented player. He would fit the roster better than Zach LaVine. But even if you brought in Zach LaVine, if you brought in John Morant for Zach LaVine, you're still not going to have the continuity and everything else that you need here. It's going to take more changes than that. And like, look, I think John Morant would be really, really interesting with Domantas Sabonis. I do. But like, you got to figure some things out. And like, maybe that's a possibility. It would take more than Zach LaVine straight up for John Morant. I believe it would take
several ones.
It would take probably Zach LaVine and 2 first-round picks.
At least.
Yeah.
Because you have to go to the world where John Morant's on the open market.
Yeah, I think John Morant, too, is under contract for a long time. And hey, that dude's got his own baggage. Not only the off-the-court stuff and like the knucklehead stuff, but on top of that, he's had a ton of injuries.
And they're all different. It's not, he has like this year, he's had like a wrist and a back. He's got a hamstring.
Yeah, he plays out of control, which I think you love. And I think fans would love him in Sacramento. But there's a lot of like question marks.
Yeah.
Question marks.
Who else? TC still there? TC, you're on the Elk Grove Kia talk line. What's up?
Hey, I'm still here. Ham, Kyle, what's up, man?
What's up, buddy?
Chilling, bro.
No, just being honest, bro. So
Thank you.
It has to happen, bro. Like, we can't do both these dudes, bro. DeRozan has to leave, bro. Either one of them, or if not both, dog, to move on forward. Like, with what we got going on, period, point blank. That's where we at right now. I don't want to keep beating the dead horse with DeRozan, bro. But my eyes are telling me something totally different. What everybody want to keep saying, bro. I'm looking at their body language. I'm looking at the game last night, and I'm like, bro, this dude is defiant, and the team is not feeling that. They're like, bro, why aren't you playing within? Even Zach, his boy, is angry. They ain't gonna come out and tell him like, hey, man, you gotta stop. But at the same time, they're irritated, bro, with how he's playing. I'm telling you, bro, it's not mission. DeRozan has to leave this team on the offseason, whether he wants to ask for a trade or we got to move him. It has to happen, dog.
Thanks, TC. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's kind of the page everybody's landing on. I would be floored if the Kings won tonight.
Absolutely floored if the Kings win tonight.
Be great. I hope they do. But I wouldn't have been floored if they beat the Celtics last night. But given how last night went, and given everything we've talked about today, I would be shocked if they won this game tonight.
We still don't have an injury report that I know of that would tell us who's going to play for the Kings tonight.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm going to guess Domas is playing. I have no idea with Malik. Malik is sick for sure. And I don't know what Malik has, but
it's not good.
But we also live in a world where there are plenty of things that last more than 3 or 4 days.
Mm-hmm.
And so like I think that there's a hope that Malik can play, but questionable.
Yeah.
That's what he was yesterday and wasn't able to go. This is a big game. This is a big game for the Kings. Every game from here on out. I mean, there's only 11 games left. That's the crazy thing. There's only 11 games left in the season.
Mm-hmm.
After tonight, I think there's 4 more home games.
Yep.
Yeah, it's just wild. The season has gone away so fast, and it feels like it's been 5 seasons in one. This is it.
So if the Kings lose tonight, let me make sure I have this right. The Kings lose tonight, and the Mavericks beat the Knicks in New York. The Kings are the 11th seed? Because they'd fall behind the Suns. They'd be tied with the Suns.
Yes.
But the Suns have the tiebreaker.
Yeah. That's where you'd be. 35 and 36, 35 and 37, 35 and 37. That's the 3 teams that are locked in within a half game of each other for the 9, 10, and 11 spot.
I expected the Kings to be in this mix for the 4, 5, 6, 7 range.
Yeah, even like
3
weeks ago, 2 weeks ago, we thought they might be in that 6, 7, 8 range, like battling.
God.
No.
Crazy how fast it just all kind of derailed. All right, we got the handoff coming up. It's Jesse Tapia today. Going to jump in with us for the handoff. I'm going to have a winning lineup for you on Underdog coming up. And we'll try and sort out the wreckage of whatever's left of this Kings season. That's James. Joe Brazil's pushing buttons. I'm Kyle. We're the Insiders. We're sponsored by Jiffy Lube. It's ESPN 1320, Sacramento Sports Center. No, he's good. I just wanted to, just real quick, just to peel back the curtain. Yeah, go ahead. Somebody in here said this. If you're the better show, let people say it. That was an excuse because Javier's call was going on way too long. He was not getting to his point. So I just talked about Dave on today's show.
I said, it's okay.
Yeah, no, he's fine. You know what I need? I'll tell you, I don't want to put him on blast now. I will talk to you about that after the show.
I got you coming through the laptop over here. Give me 1 second.
Oh, okay. Maybe depending on the team. I have no idea what DeMar DeRozan's trade value would be. Yeah, dude. Just can't stand one another. Yeah, so I'm trying to be a better person. We chopped it up. I'm trying to do better.
What's up, Chatty House?
It's Jesse.
That's right.
Jesse said, I kicked out D'Lo and KC. Celtics won. I need to get on the handoff today.
That's exactly what happened. Damien did not text me when I was on the way here and be like, hey, I can't make it. Can you join it, please? Not what happened. Put my foot down. What's up, Drew Down? Aldrin, it's all good. Seems like he'll be back sooner than later. Do not hate Domantas Sabonis. It's a moment of frustration. I put a call out to the league, but we don't hate him.
I was telling Kyle I had to literally report people last night for making threats to both
Twitter sucks.
Sabonis
It's-
and
dude,
myself.
that's
The
facts.
Twitter sucks. Like
Yeah.
the Celtics people are going like they suck. My uncle really calls me this sometimes.
What's that?
Stephen Brown says I look like a Mexican Wolverine. My uncle calls me Wolverine sometimes.
It's funny.
Dude, I get Timu, Jesse, and Kevin Herter, and you get Wolverine.
You gotta
Awesome.
work. You gotta
Kevin
work, John.
Herter? I don't see it.
I get I hear them say it.
That's
I
crazy.
got Duncan
That's-
Robinson. I got
What?
Kevin Herter.
Duncan Robinson. I don't see that. At
That's
all.
crazy
Yeah,
work,
I get
dude.
Kevin Herter. There was one more. I can't.
Are we
I
just
don't know.
naming white guys?
It
No,
could be worse,
well,
Joe. They
yes.
could ask you if you're Kevin Herter's dad.
Great
That is
question.
a very good
That was one of the
point.
better ones.
Yeah, I have got. I see Kevin Herter in here every once in a while. And then I used to hear every once in a while Duncan Robinson. But
I don't.
oh, you know what? The other one was Josh Giddey, and I don't want to talk about that one.
Yikes.
Yeah, we stopped talking about
That's
that.
the one I see the most.
Nailed it.
All right.
Shout out, Joe.
Joe Hero. Thanks, Joe. You're the best.
Glass Joe. Catcher Cal Raleigh signed a 6-year, $105 million contract with the Mariners.
I'm excited for baseball season. I'm gonna be a big baseball guy this year again.
Oh, word?
Yeah. Shout out to the Red Sox.
Hmm.
I'm not Australian, but unfortunately, yeah, no, I do think I kind of look like him.
Asher Roth is crazy.
It's a big time throwback, huh?
I can't tell you how much burn I Love College by Asher Roth got my freshman year of college because that's when that came out. Oh my God, dude.
Glasnow. Hey, you know what? I'm gonna take all of these. Thanks. I appreciate it. I'll take Glasnow.
That's funny.
Ooh.
Now, back to the Insiders with James Ham and Kyle Madsen, brought to you by Jiffy Lube on ESPN 1320.
Kyle Madsen alongside James Ham. Jesse Tapia
Yes, sir.
produces D'Lo and KC. He's in here for the handoff. Joe Brazil is also with us. Joe Brazil, who apparently just looks like every white NBA player. It's
Got
fun.
Tyler Hero, Duncan Robinson in there.
Someone said Macaulay Culkin. That's
They said
crazy.
every mid
That's
player
crazy.
though.
Yo, you gotta start fighting
Macaulay!
back, bro.
I don't
Yeah,
know.
nobody
if
said
these people-
nobody said Luca.
Nobody said Luca. No. It's good.
Got a little
It's
Doug
fine,
McDermott
dude.
in there.
Oh, maybe a little McDermott. Yeah, there we go.
Stop. Are you? Have you filed assault charges against Domantas Sabonis yet, Jesse?
I did in the moment,
Okay.
but we retracted. It's fine.
Okay.
Tatum's only gonna be out for like a week, it seems, or however long.
All right.
It's just an unfortunate play. Like it is what it
That's-
is. Like
yeah, it's
Domas
just
is not
basketball.
30. Like like whatever.
Yeah.
He
Happens.
plays hard.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You tell,
man.
like, beginning
you-
beginning of that game yesterday, like, oh, Domas is here. Like it's almost like Domas kind of came early to fix this. Like they ended up losing, but like Domas was like really like putting emphasis on like, no, we got to get this out.
Yeah, I thought the way he was playing early was like, oh, all right, they're here,
Yeah.
and then he takes 10 shots.
He got hit in the face by is it Luke Cornett? And then like was yelling at the official, and then went down on the other end, and Luke Cornett standing in the middle of the key, just bodied that dude to the floor, just knocked him down and laid it right up.
Luke Cornett.
There's another one. Domantas Sabonis.
Joe Ingles.
Oh yeah,
I'll take that. Okay,
hang on.
all right.
The Celtics got a lot. Kristaps Porzingis.
Okay.
I'm not saying Peyton Pritchard. That's mean. Baylor Shireman.
Hey, shout out Baylor Shireman yesterday.
Baylor Shireman is awesome.
Yeah,
Baylor
playing
Shireman.
defense and hitting threes.
Hey, Baylor Shireman took more 3-pointers than every player on the Kings.
That steal
that
and
was wrong.
behind the back flip he had
Oh, yeah,
was,
that was amazing.
just spectacular.
Jake LaRavia.
Um,
A little
no.
Jake LaRavia in there? No. All right.
I'm growing a mustache.
There's no version of this Kings season where it's a successful year, right?
You could somehow, some way get into the play-in and get into the first round of the playoffs. That's success.
If they make the playoffs,
yeah, that's success.
oh,
Given how
man,
disgusting
I
everything's went.
disagree.
Yeah.
I disagree.
What do you mean you got to the playoffs? That counts for something. You're one of the top 8 teams in the West.
This is where I think this is where there's a disconnect with how James and I discuss the Kings and where some other people and this is not that there's a right or wrong way to do it. In fact, we're probably doing it the wrong way given our jobs. But and James, if you disagree with this, let me know. I think we're on the same page here though.
Okay.
Making the playoffs does not suddenly mean like, oh, the Kings have got a little something here.
Oh no. Well, yeah, ask me if I see a future after this year.
Right. And that's the thing is that they make the playoffs. We're not coming out of this year like, all right, coming out of Beam Team 1, it was like arrow ascending. This team is going the right way. Coming out of last year, it was like, okay, ran it back too hard. Need to make a couple of tweaks, but still ascending. Step back, minor setback for a major comeback, or whatever the phrase is. This year, there's not.
I get everything you're saying, but I can't say a team that made the playoffs was unsuccessful that year.
Really?
Like there's context and all that. Like going forward, like just I mean
But
the whole
context
build,
that,
like Monty McNair build was a failure because.
But the context for me is that this team we expected to be a top 5-ish seed in the West was a top 9-ish seed in the West and lost in the first round.
Yeah, no, you're.
They're like a cat poster.
If we're going off of. If we're going
hang in there, little fella.
You're right. If we're going off of game 1 expectations that we had, I guess, but it's just, I don't know. I guess maybe it's a consolation prize that I'm looking at it, because like playoffs is playoffs. Like that's like I said, you make playoffs, you're a top 8 team, no matter how you get there, or whatever. But also, I don't really see the future here with this team. Like we're not taking this team to the Western Conference Finals with this group or anything like that. Like all the expectations that you had when you were trying to build on De'Aaron Fox and Domantas Sabonis are pretty much gone right now.
Sure.
I also hope that this is a moment where like ownership looks at what's happened here and realizes that the path that they've taken and the path that they continuously take isn't the right one. And there has to be more stability. There has to be more, just fewer cooks in the kitchen, fewer people that are impacting what's happening. And, I mean, I do think that there is a moment here where you have to have some clarity as a franchise.
Honestly, I feel like it's time to do that this offseason. Like, run it back for one more time with this group. Like, what are you gonna get from that?
Nothing.
Exactly.
Like Zach LaVine.
We know what this is.
Zach LaVine yesterday was like the vibes are down.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any coming back from that.
They're just not a good basketball team right now.
No, that's it.
And
that's what it comes down
like
to.
I've been seeing like Wes Wilcox, if he ends up going to Utah or whatever, like great. That's half of it gone, but it's not like, oh, now Monty get cooked. No, Monty's still part of the problem as well.
Yeah, there's some wholesale changes coming, even if they make the first round of the playoffs. I think.
Like I do see a scenario where maybe you don't completely blow up the roster, but maybe all right, we'll stick with Sabonis or these few players or whatever, and try to just round it out better rather than having 340 million players or whatever, you know. But
can I say something to you not about the Kings?
Yes.
It's pretty rare that I watch a whole Jason Tatum game. But playoffs, obviously, I'm locked in. But like on a night-to-night basis, I check in on League Pass on games that matter to the Kings for the most part. And it's rare that Boston is one of those teams. I was so impressed with how in control he is of everything all the time.
Yeah, he's kind of developed into that like he's the best version of himself probably the last couple, like this season and last season.
Yeah,
He's one of the most complete players in the NBA. I think.
My lasting image of Jason Tatum was the 2022 finals.
Mhm.
Like that's just what's colored my opinion of him. And in that finals, he was not good.
Yeah,
He couldn't shoot. He couldn't score at the rim. He was
Couldn't
just
play
all
make.
over the place. And then you watch him yesterday, and it's just everything is in total control. And he's never sped up. He's never going to the wrong place with the basketball. He turns it over sometimes, makes some mistakes here and there. But it's just like there's so few guys that are just the guy in the way that he is. And I was really impressed last night.
Yeah, that's like.
And I just wanted to say that to you.
Well, I will relay that to him and
Yeah,
the guys.
let him know.
And, yeah,
Let
he'll
him
be
know.
grateful for
Thank
that.
you.
That's like the last part of his game he unlocked. I think that's probably why he'll never go for 30 or anything like that. He's just.
I think he was
the
going
offense
for
kinda-
30 last night.
Well, I mean, like average 30 in a season. Like
Yeah.
he's at 26 point whatever right now or something like
Yeah.
that. But he's like their glue guy on the offense now.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, he's a pretty good player. Shout out. I was terrified yesterday when he got hurt.
It looked really
I thought things were torn. I thought things were gonna have
Yeah.
to be amputated. I'm sitting there with my hoodie just kind of over my face, just terrified.
If you've missed it, Jesse's a Celtics fan.
Yes, if you didn't know that already.
The Kings are missing the play.
Rather they might. And right now, if you gave me an answer, I'd say they would.
Let me throw this at you.
Yes.
Here's the Suns' remaining schedule.
Mhm.
The Suns have won 4 in a row and 5 of their last 6. James, before I continue this, can you say anything that just happened? Yeah. Okay, great. Here's the Suns' remaining schedule, and then we'll get to why James left. Boston, at Minnesota, Houston, at Milwaukee, at Boston, at the Knicks, Warriors, Thunder, Spurs, at Kings.
Yeah. But Kevin Durant went for like what, 40 yesterday almost?
Yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah.
Really good player.
It's Kevin Durant. He said,
You know
I'm
who-
Kevin Durant.
You know who I am?
Yeah.
Meanwhile, the Mavs have the Knicks, Magic, Bulls, Nets, Hawks, Clippers twice, Lakers, Raptors, Grizzlies.
On D'Lo and KC, the show, we've talked about the Mavs are done. Cook, Kyrie's done.
Yeah, we've
AD,
we've
blah,
stopped
blah,
doing
blah.
the scoreboard watching with them.
And you know what? We were kind of right, but it turns out that the Kings stink too.
That's it. I did not foresee the Kings.
Yes, they did what they
face
couldn't do.
planting the way they
They did the one thing they couldn't do. I think they've lost 6 out of 8, 7 out of their last 9. Like you couldn't do that one thing.
Yep.
And you did.
James, you just exited.
I did.
You got a phone call.
Yeah.
Talk
So
to me.
I can confirm Wes Wilcox, it does appear, is on his way to the University of Utah to take over, which is the report we saw early this morning, that there was a possibility for this, but it does look like he is on his way to the University of Utah to take over as the men's basketball general manager.
Mhm.
It's a new opportunity for Wes. He's very close with the coach there. It's a long lineage of, quality basketball, University
Mhm.
of Utah, Rick Majerus, all that stuff. But it does appear that he is on his way, whether it's now or it's at the end of the season. I don't know that quite yet, but we can confirm that.
Might as well just go now, not doing anything else.
Yeah, this is happening.
Wow.
10 games left. Go ahead, Wes.
Yeah. See ya.
Yeah.
You don't need to be around for anything.
Yeah, good for you.
Go build that program. Good luck.
Yes.
All right.
Very, very interesting turn of events here.
So the Kings front office will look at least a little different next year, no matter what.
Yeah.
Or did West take that job knowing that they were out of there?
I don't know, but please, for the love of everything, no co-GMs.
No co-GMs.
No co-GMs.
One guy.
Yes.
One decision maker. Give him the keys. Anyways,
I don't want money working with someone else. I need one guy calling the shots here.
I'm going to give you the keys to winning some money on Underdog tonight.
Shut up.
Baseball fans, even if you're not a baseball fan, lock into Underdog because we're going to be dishing out winning lineups on Underdog Daily Fantasy all baseball season. Their pick'em game super easy. It works the exact same way with baseball as it does with football as it does with basketball. You're picking higher or lower on at least 2 player stats. Thursday is opening day. That will be our first lineup because I refuse to do a spring training lineup. I'm not that kind of person. But hey, here's my lineup tonight. All Kings Thunder, of course. Jalen Williams, who is questionable. I'm going higher than 27.5 points, rebounds, and assists. DeMar DeRozan, I'm going higher than 21.5 points because I think DeMar DeRozan's goal right now is just to score points. Domantas Sabonis, higher than half a double-double. I think Domas does have at least 10 and 10 tonight. He might go triple-double tonight. against Oklahoma City. And then Lou Dort, higher than 1.5 made threes. Lou Dort can shoot the hell out of the basketball now. FYI. And good shooters against the Kings, who's not a primary ball handler. He's going to get some open looks. I think he's going to knock at least a couple of them down. That is my lineup on Underdog. I would love for you to play along. Download the Underdog app and sign up now using promo code KyleM to unlock a special offer of up to $1,000 in bonus cash when you make your first deposit. Join in on the fun when you sign up with promo code KyleM. Claim your special offer today and get up to $1,000 in bonus cash instantly upon first deposit. Must be 18 plus and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. Void in Colorado. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.ncpgambling.org. In Arizona, call 1-800-NEXT-STEP or text NEXT STEP to 53342. In New York, call the 24/7 Hope line at 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. Jesse, what do you guys got coming up?
Gonna light the Kings up. Hopefully they win tonight. We got Tristan Crick and Jason Jones.
Can't wait. D'Lo and KC coming up next. They'll take you up to 4 o'clock where we will have Warriors Heat right here on ESPN 1320. For James Ham and Joe Brazil, I'm Kyle Madsen. D'Lo and KC are next. We've been the Insiders, sponsored by Jiffy Lube on ESPN 1320, Sacramento Sports Leader. Until tomorrow at 10, drink water. Be nice, people. See you.